Godzilla has been good and bad, destroyer and defender throughout its fascinating history. The question is, which role is it best suited for? You probably won't find a giant radioactive reptilian on any list of great cinematic anti-heroes, but Godzilla has undeniably walked the line between good and evil for most of its existence. Stay with us as we explore which role Godzilla is best suited for. First up, Godzilla as a force of destruction. All great cinema monsters reflect some kind of real-world societal fear or another. Examples of this abound. Take Dawn of the Dead, for instance. George Romero uses zombies in this film to speak to issues of consumerism, and vampires are often cast into stories about upper-class exploitation. Godzilla has always represented this trend. It first appeared a mere decade after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The fear of nuclear weapons and their aftermath had been irreversibly engraved in the hearts, minds, and souls of post-war Japanese. The Lucky Dragon No. 5 incident. This was when a Japanese fishing boat got contaminated by H-bomb fallout at Bikini Atoll. Inspired producer Tomoyuki Tanaka to make this film's monster a result of atomic power. Now, a quick look at the history and themes of when Godzilla started. Godzilla is awoken from its centuries-long slumber by an H-bomb test. Similar to the Lucky Dragon No. 5 incident, this ancient reptile, originally sea-dwelling, leaves a wake of destruction as it rampages across Japan. The film's themes aren't subtle at all. Humanity has been reckless in its use of nuclear weapons. Godzilla represents nature's punishment, so there is no true evil lurking in Godzilla. The monster is simply retaliating for the harm done to it by mankind's hubris. And from the first Godzilla film, the monster is cleverly used as the frightening antagonist of the story. To see more about Godzilla as a guardian of nature, keep watching. Then, Godzilla as an avenging force is still at the core of the story. Godzilla, cast in the thematic role of nature exacting revenge on humanity for its crimes, has always been the pivot of the stories, and this has been so over many decades. No Godzilla film makes this theme more prominent than the 2016 Shin Godzilla. This production by Hideaki Anno, who also created Neon Genesis Evangelion, is basically a remake of the original movie from 1954. In Anno's film, Godzilla is frightened, trapped, and in chronic pain, and it only ever lashes out when it needs to defend itself. Shin Godzilla is probably one of the most horrific portrayals of this king of monsters, but also the most sympathetic. In the story, Godzilla takes on the persona of a god of destruction, and Anno doesn't shy away for one moment from portraying the human cost of the monster's rampage. Also, Godzilla as a fearsome guardian of nature. While Godzilla finds its origins as a metaphor for nuclear horrors, the coming decades saw the character grow into something more complex. A good example is Ghidorah, a three-headed monster. In this film, Godzilla morphed from the greatest enemy humanity had known to its unlikely savior. It took only a few years for Godzilla, the avatar of the horrifying wrath of nature, to become a friendly, heroic, and even somewhat funny figure. In 1984, this series was rebooted, and Godzilla returned to being a monstrous force of unstoppable destruction. But this return to the original material wasn't destined to last long. To find out if Godzilla has become the ultimate anti-hero, stay with us. And now, Godzilla has a dual personality. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah saw the light in 1991. In it, Godzilla is once again the defender of humanity against an even greater threat. But to stay true to the original intent of the character, Godzilla becomes destructive again in the final act of the film. Ever since Godzilla has had two personalities, it has been equal parts destroyer and defender. The monster was pitched against the likes of Mothra and Mechagodzilla equally as often as the villainous creatures Space Godzilla and Destoroyah. Although Godzilla had no love to spare for mankind anymore, he could be relied upon to protect the Earth from outside threats. And in that lies the point. Godzilla was by no stretch of the imagination on humanity's side, but it was on the side of the Earth, and humanity happened to be a part of the Earth. Now, has Godzilla become the ultimate anti-hero in the process? With the new characterization of the past 30-odd years, Godzilla and its avatar as nature's protector have found a new context. Nobody and nothing can control nature. It is often deadly and mostly unpredictable, but it is also the ultimate provider for all life, including humans, as long as it is respected. In this sense, Godzilla is cast into the role of a protector of the natural order. Nothing, be it a monster or man, that would bring harm to Godzilla's world will be left unscathed. The MonsterVerse films from Legendary Pictures are particularly serious about casting Godzilla into the role of planetary guardian. While the kaiju won't hesitate for a moment to punish humanity for folly and arrogance, it will also save them when King Ghidorah and the Mutas threaten them. But is the franchise staying true to the original? More about that in a moment. Stay with us. So, is Godzilla a friend or foe? Nobody can accuse the modern version of Godzilla of being a hero in the traditional sense. That would just be far-fetched. But Godzilla is still very far removed from the vengeful enemy of mankind, as it was originally depicted. Even in films where the destructive nature of the monster is underlined, there's no real desire to picture Godzilla as a true monster or villain. Meanwhile, is this a betrayal of Godzilla's original intent? One could argue that it is, no doubt. Both fans and critics hail Shin Godzilla as the iconic film in the series, and this is precisely the film that portrays Godzilla at his most frightening. That said, it is natural for icons and symbols to evolve over the years. Batman, for instance, has been both a bright, campy figure as well as a grim and broody vigilante. In the same way, Godzilla has been both a brave guardian and a terrifying destroyer. And this is causing fans to argue, with one group preferring the destructor and the other the protector. But both are perfectly valid character interpretations. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the 5 kaiju that might feature in Godzilla vs. Kong 2. Mechagodzilla, King Ghidorah, and Mothra have made their appearance, but there are still monsters plenty for Kong and Godzilla to battle within the next movie. The future of Legendary Pictures' MonsterVerse was somewhat uncertain for a while after the release of Godzilla vs. Kong in 2021, but now it has been confirmed that the film's sequel, scheduled for a March 2024 release, will be helmed by Adam Wingard again. The identity of this new foe is not yet known. However, there is a couple of iconic kaiju from the franchise that are waiting to make their MonsterVerse debut. Keep watching. First, there is Destoroyah. This is a unique character in the franchise. It's one of the most beloved monsters in the series, but has only shown up in one film, Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, 1995. It is also the only monster that succeeded in defeating and killing Godzilla. The two share one central characteristic. Both were mutated by weaponry built by humans. Godzilla is the result of nuclear radiation, and Destoroyah is the end product of the oxygen destroyer. Incidentally, the very weapon that killed Godzilla in the 1954 original. Then there is Biollante. This is also a fan favorite. Biollante has only one appearance under its belt, Godzilla vs. Biollante, which was released in 1989. Biollante is the product of the work of a scientist trying to resurrect his daughter. The monster is a completely combination of Godzilla, plant, and human DNA. Biollante has rather heroic origins, but video game adaptations and comic books often cast her as an antagonistic force, very much in the mold of Godzilla's other enemies. Although it is guesswork at this stage, chances are good Biollante will be given a simple, plant-based origin, as opposed to a Godzilla-human-plant hybrid. And if the decision is made to have her appear as an antagonist, she may be more villainous, perhaps even an ally to Godzilla. Also, there's Gigan. Gigan is highly unusual among the rogues gallery in this series. He's one of Godzilla's more potent and prominent foes, but he also seems to be a step or two behind the other kaiju. His debut film, Godzilla vs. Gigan, was released back in 1972. In that story, he was partnered with King Ghidorah, another Godzilla nemesis. For now, Ghidorah is dead, but Gigan may very well appear as the sidekick for the main antagonist of the film. Kong and Godzilla are teaming up, so it would probably take more than one kaiju to mount a proper challenge. And of course, Megalon. Gigan's partner in crime in the 1973 film was Megalon. This is an insectoid worshipped as a god by the inhabitants of Seatopia, and his personality is that of a troublemaker, a bruiser, rather than something as stylish as a vengeful god. Fans love Megalon, probably for the slightly campy and even comical feel of his debut film. He is perfect for showing up as a minor antagonist, sort of the bumbling bug character. Also, finally, Anguirus may feature. Anguirus was Godzilla's very first kaiju rival. He made his debut in the 1955 version of Godzilla Raids Again, but it was in the 1968 Godzilla franchise classic Destroy All Monsters that the character was cemented as the King of Monsters' closest ally. With lots to look forward to in the Godzilla franchise, we end this video. Remember to keep a lookout for our next upload.